And we're just going to pan around slowly, and you're going to see a vast collection of old-time lures, some handmade ones, most of them, of course, handmade, but here's some made by the owner of this place. Heddon's, South Bend, Shakespeare, you name it. Some of them I've never even heard of. Tackle boxes galore. Rods, reels, you name it. A lot of other collectibles. Net making stuff from the Indians here. Okay. Well, hey everyone. Like I said, I was coming over to a very special place with a very special collection here. And this is the man that owns it. His name is Gary.
Hello.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your collection? Probably, let's start off with, how long have you been collecting?
About 20 years. Traveling around the country, collected things from all over the country. Worked at a lot of Air Force bases and military bases, and fishing lures just seemed to be something I could collect on the road and still take it on the base. You know, they didn't object to sharp hooks. And I've always liked tackle.
You've always been a fisherman. You've been a fisherman since you were young.
Yeah, oh yeah. We started fishing about the time we started walking, I suppose. But
yeah, I hear you on that one. I hear you on that one. So, actually, what really got you into collecting? Just your love of fishing?
yeah, I just always liked fishing tackle. My dad had an old tackle box, and when he passed away, I was 9 years old, and we used to marvel at his old lures that he had, and always wanted to do something like it. So I had the opportunity and just started collecting them.
Do you remember the first lure that you got as a collector?
As a collector, not really. I remember my dad had a Fred Abergast hula popper that I used to really like in the 60s, and I still have that lure. But other than that, I don't remember the exact first lure I bought. It's been 20 years of traveling around and buying at different places, so you kind of lose track of all that, really.
Yeah,
you know?
yes. So what brands of lures do you have?
Just about every brand that's made. Like most collectors, I started just buying anything and everything, and never really specialized on one type of lure, which a lot of collectors will do. That way you don't get so much of everything. But there's Heddon, there's Fred Abergast, there's Millsight, there's Shakespeare, Creek Chub, Paul Bunyan, Lloyd, Globe, Pawpaw, there's Flugers. I mean, there's just so many different types of lures.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. What's your most special lure in here?
I like the older metal baits that were from the 1800s, really. I don't know why, I like the older stuff. And some of the makers that made that stuff were jewelers and watchmakers, you know, and doctors, and so the history behind the lure is kind of what makes it special to me, and knowing about the person that made it and what their former life was before they made lures. But maybe my Heddon up there that I pointed out to you, I really like that lure because it's pretty rare and it's a pretty lure and it's well made. The baby tadpolly runt.
the pokey dotted one there.
Yeah. Which they call strawberry.
Yeah, it's an amazing collection, guys. An amazing collection.
Okay, so the case on the right is mostly creek chub. There is some snakeskin baits up there at Arkansas in the upper right. And then the case in the middle are heading river runts mainly. Different colors in there. There's the black shore, which is black and silver striped, and then your watermelon colors up above. And then the case over on the far left is all creek chub. You can't really see them that well because there's an old Shakespeare minnow trap there from the early 1900s, glass. And then this case here is all Shakespeare. A lot of early 1900s lures there. Not every lure Shakespeare made in there, but there's quite a few of them. Shakespeare's been in business since the early 1900s. Or actually into the 1800s.
In the 1800s, yes. 1800s. Yes.
Most of those came out of Waxahachie, Texas.
And how about these two cases here?
The case on the right is lures I made. They're replicas of just old lures that I liked. Turn them into wood lathe and hand carve some of them. And the other's folk art lures. A lot of people collect folk art because they're one of a kind, you know.
Yeah, like that one in the upper left there.
Yeah, that's a folk art, a replica of a famous folk art lure, actually. That I saw in a book and I liked it, so.
The original, when would it have dated?
I'm not real sure because probably in the 40s.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's.
And the one on the left there?
That's just all folk art lures. There's Crazy Legs is the name of the lower right-hand corner one.
Practice golf ball.
Yeah. And a spaceship. And there's an Arkansas Razorback there in the middle. There's various little things that people made through the years.
Interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
And these are all frog lures. Hidden loony frogs up here. The normal color would be these, that are frog scale, and then the red and white is the non-cataloged loony frog, which is, I've only been 12 of them made, because you could write a letter and have them made by the lure manufacturer, but they don't make them by the dozen. And then you got a couple of pawpaw water frogs, and some replicas of the Kent frog, which is a pretty famous frog lure. So this is a little case I put together of mostly headings. You got heading crazy crawlers across the top, and then these are Lucky 13s and heading bassers. And red-eyed wiggler. Yeah, mostly headings in there. These came out of the Arkansas Game and Fish Museum. A lot of uncatalogued colors there. There's actually one of them in there was made during World War II, during Pearl Harbor, as a commemorative to Pearl Harbor, and it was I'm trying to think where that's at. It's a ... dash. It was Morse code is what they painted on them. I don't know where that's at. I don't see it. I might have taken it out of there. But those are all pretty rare mouse lures. They're all mice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And of course he's got things hanging up just about every conceivable place.
Did you get the fish making, the net making stuff? Native American Indians?
So tell us about this, Gary.
Well, the Eskimos and Native American Indians would make their own nets, and these are some of the tools they'd use to do it with. That's how they would weave the net. So, pretty old stuff. Yeah.
Old poppers and flies.
Yeah, my girlfriend collected fly baits, so she would always get fly baits whenever we go to a lure show or swap meet or something. Of course, there's Shakespeare across here, and these are pawpaws and squeaky mice. But when they'd spin, they'd squeak. Kind of make a squeaking noise.
A lot of inventiveness and ingenuity went into these things, huh?
Yeah. Those are head and widow makers, they call them back there. Some aren't mice. The South Bend Whirlarino. That dates early 1900s. And then you got tiger striped ones, frog colored ones, gray ones. Lucky lures or beautiful lure. A lot of craftsmanship in them. They're polymer. Company's out of business out of Vilonia, Arkansas, because of a tornado wiped them out 4 times, and they finally didn't rebuild.
And you said all these are metal?
They're meadow mouse.
Okay.
Head and meadow mice on the left, and then these are pawpaw on the center. And most of these are Shakespeare on the right. Swimming mice, they call them. Swimming mouse.
Yeah.
I didn't really show you this one, but this was a battery-operated lure that had a little propeller on the front of it. And you could retrieve it and then stop, and then the propeller would move it back. And then you'd retrieve it again. And
oh my.
It was kind of a big lure. And
it's a huge lure.
They were usually...
But about, 7 inches long?
Yeah. They corroded real bad inside, and this one was all full of rust and stuff. I cleaned it up, but I never...
And who made it?
You know, I don't know. I think it was a novelty lure, actually, by some novelty company. But it's just a silly thing. Fish decoys that you'd lower down the ice hole to attract fish. And the novelty lure there, the bug or bass, wasn't supposed to be really a fishing lure. It was more of a novelty, but they caught fish really well, so they were pretty successful. Kinds of stuff up here mixed up. Heddons and creek chubs and Florida tackle, and yeah. And these are earlier baits, a lot out of the 1800s, the metal baits. A lot of them out of Whitehall, New York. And you took a picture of this one earlier, but
yes.
Yeah, it was J.T. Buell, and he was kind of accredited with the first metal spinner bait because they spun quite well. But,
they should kick a lot of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of noise.
Old reels and fishing poles and just got a little crazy collecting stuff. These wiggled the tail. You'd pull them, and then when they'd release, the tail would wiggle.
Oh my.
And go back up.
Oh my.
Yeah, you know. Kind of a fun little lure. These were pretty rare creek chubs. The water would come in the bottom and shoot out the top and make air bubbles so it would attract fish.
We're going to have a lighting problem, guys.
Yeah.
We've tried to eliminate the light and it's not working.
Yeah. These are mostly water dog Texas lures, Texas bait. And then these are mill sites in this case. Mill site bug and what's the other one?
That was the name brand, was Mill Site?
Yeah, mill site. And these are called daily doubles down below. You could pull them either direction.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they were made out of tenonite.
Now what is that?
It's just a composite thing that they came up with and invented kind of around the time as plastic, you know.
Okay.
Tenonite could decay pretty fast, though. I don't think they really used it that long. They would implode in heat. And then you got spinner baits, metal spinner baits, bucktail lures, and Shannon twin spinners, and different stuff. And minnow trap over here, a little wire minnow trap that must have taken forever for somebody to make. Yeah, and these are mostly head-ends on this board. There are some Shannon twin spinners up there, though. The Head and King. Another one of those Whitehall, New York, JT Buell spinner baits.
Bunch of old rods down here.
Yeah, got a gentleman streamliner.
Oh yeah, let's show everybody this one.
This is a really nice reel, very well made.
Kind of, to me, I was telling them earlier, it looks like the prototype for the modern low-slung casting reels, bass fishing reels.
Yeah, this contraption that I got clamped on here is a thing you could run your line through and set it, and if you got a bite, it would jerk the line and set the hook in the fish's mouth. That's 1800s technology there. And these are mostly Fred Abergass hula poppers, or not hula poppers, but jitterbugs. Jitterbugs. And those were my grandpa's tools. Carpenter.
Starfish. I used to collect those when I was a boy.
Yeah. Came out of Corpus Christi. And then there's just some really crazy stuff that people made, you know, for musky baits. Up in Minnesota. A lot of those came from Minnesota.
That one's really different.
Yeah, isn't it? Probably scared the fish when they saw it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. These lures up here, I don't know if he talked about those. The fish call was developed by the guy in the Navy, and what he didn't realize is the reed he put inside of them, he invented a duck call fishing lure. Blow on it, it goes quack quack, and pull it through the water, and it makes a vibration. Yeah, these are Shakespeare. These are Pawpaw. This is an automatic bait. Fish bites on it and hook pops out to the side.
Very inventive people.
Yeah. Very interesting. I was telling you earlier about they used radium at the factories. That's an old heading, and they painted those stripes on. The ladies would lick their paintbrush, and because they were all painted by hand, and most of the women died from cancer. And this has real sparrow feathers on it. It's a weasel, they call it, weasel sparrow. These they'd spin when they painted them. They'd just drop a drop of paint and it would swirl it around.
Oh, cool.
This is called a bug or bird. Hughes and Jones out of Arkadelphia made those, Arkansas. A lot of South Bend in there, and that'd be the South Bend. Bassarino or Yeah, a lot of different
Well,
makers there. They're kind of mixed.
yeah, what we think of South Bend nowadays is cheap stuff. Back in the day, they made quality fishing tackle. A lot of lures.
A lot of variety. Yeah. A couple old flugers. Those are early 1900s, 1908.
And more
These
mice.
are more mice, yeah. These are all pawpaw, and they all have deer hair on them. They're a deer hair mouse. And then, of course, you got all different flavors here. You got Shakespeare, Sure Strike, Heddon, up on top, some Heddons. These are actually a Heddon lure made in Japan.
Wow.
And then this, of course, you got all your flatfish and some metal baits and a lot of maps, the old wooden maps, rod holder for when you're deep sea fishing for your belly. And in this case is the creek chub beetles, and got some Shakespeare's in here. And then this 1920 glowworm from Oliver and Grubber, the two doctors that ran an insane asylum that both went to prison because they'd have their patients paint the lures, and they were selling them, so they went to prison for exploitation of mental patients. There's a red, a green, and a black of that lure that they made in 1920. That's it. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in here.
Yes, a lot of stuff. Spend days in here. A guy like me and people like me spend weeks.
Yeah. So here we have a contraption that was built in the 40s, and it's called, you hook a rope on the eye and tow it behind your boat, and it'd spin in the water. You put your fish in at the bottom, and it's an automatic fish scaler. And so you had to be careful, depending on how tender you wanted your fish, how far you pulled it and how fast you pulled it. But they work quite well from what I've been told. I've never tried it myself, but one of these days perhaps.
a unique piece of equipment there.
Very unique.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of ingenuity went into everything you saw here. This was not junk. I mean, there was a lot of thought that went into this stuff. New inventions, new techniques, and they all got tested, and the big thing was they were all handmade. There might have been some stamps for some of the metal parts and everything, but they were hand painted, and they were not mass produced. So not as we think of mass production today with lures, spit out by the thousands, probably every hour. So anyway,
yep.
Yeah, unique device there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, Gary, I sure appreciate this. Man, what a treat to be here and see all that you've collected over the years.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is awesome. Awesome. A rare treat for a fisherman, a wonderful treat for a fisherman. Stuff I've dreamt about since I was a little boy and seen some of it. I shouldn't say a lot, some of it. A lot of it I've never heard of nor seen. So, yeah, I don't know what to say, but thank you. Thank you.
I can say anyone that wants to get into collecting fishing tackle, it's a fun hobby, a lot of history involved in it, and there's some great clubs out there. I don't want to mention them, but
go ahead. Mention
the NFLCC's, the National Fishing Lure Collectors, and they're a fantastic club. They're easy to Google and look up online. There's the Florida Antique Tackle Collectors. I'm in both. And then there's the Arkansas Tackle Collectors. and they're just a bunch of great guys, a lot of interesting people. You'll meet people from all walks of life in the clubs.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of memories here too. Brought back a lot of memories of fishing with my dad and my boyhood friend Mark. Yeah, this is really special. So I want to thank you again. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gary, for opening up your collection to us, and I hope everybody out there likes this video, because I sure liked making it. So
anytime.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep fishing. Take a young boy fishing.
Yes. Yes. Somebody told me one time that if you teach a kid how to fish, he's less likely to get into trouble.
That's true.
And I think that's very true. Fishermen are a different breed. So, a real fisherman. So, alrighty. Thank you again, Gary. Thank you all for watching. And that'll be it for now.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah.